I want to talk about T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, both of which re-signing with the Bengals. T. Higgins getting a 4-year, $115 million deal. Chase or Jamar Chase getting 4 years, $161 million. I believe like 125 guaranteed, which makes him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history, which that seems like it changes just last week or 2 weeks ago, it was Myles Garrett. But shouts out to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins for getting a deal done. I am very loud when it comes to talking about the Cincinnati Bengals organization. I admit, I do not miss a moment to talk about something that they could have done, something that they should have done. I've called them a poverty franchise on a number of occasions. I am very loud to point out, let's say, the faults of the Cincinnati Bengals organization. And it kind of pains me to say this in a sense because, it's easy and sometimes it makes my job easier to go with the status quo. But it does pain me to say that this was a smart move for the Cincinnati Bengals. For the first time that I can remember, the Bengals did not live up to their reputation. What is their reputation? I say that they're a poverty franchise, but most people, when they think of the Cincinnati Bengals, they think of a very cheap organization. They've been cheap probably since before Chad Johnson got there. They're not known for paying high on players, which is why I think that these deals came as a shocker to me. More so the T. Higgins than the Jamar Chase, especially after Jamar Chase gets the Triple Crown last year. If you would have lost Jamar Chase or tried to lowball Jamar Chase, I think that you would have been beyond gone as an organization. I said that, yes, I do think that you should have paid them early, where you probably wouldn't have had to pay them as much as you paid them, but it was smart and it was good. You did the right thing. Jamar Chase played himself into being the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history last year. That's just what he did. And they had the money to do it. I was more shocked because of the T. Higgins thing. I will again reiterate, this was extremely smart and they should have done this. When you have a dynamic duo like T. Higgins and like Jamar Chase, and you have Joe Burrow throwing you the ball. Hell, Joe Burrow even said it. You do not want to break up that tandem. You do not want to break up that trio. We'll talk about Trey Hendrickson in a second, but you at least have that. And I'm happy that they did the right thing. I am always happy when a player gets the money that they feel they deserve. In a league that is so stingy when it comes to money, I am happy that T. Higgins and Jamar Chase got paid. And again, I'm more shocked at the fact that the Cincinnati Bengals did the right thing. It might have took a little longer to do, but it did the right thing. Because once they franchise tagged T. Higgins, I thought it was curtains. I didn't even said it here. I thought there's no way in heaven or hell T. Higgins is going to, T. Higgins is going to play under a franchise tag for a second year. I just didn't see that happening. So, and I do think it was smart for T. Higgins to get the same representation that Jamar Chase has. So, their agents both the agent that represents both of them are pretty much doing both deals simultaneously. So, man, it's almost shocking. It's almost shocking because, again, the Bengals don't have a representation or don't have the reputation of doing the right thing, or they have the reputation of being a very cheap organization. Now let's expand this conversation. It looks like they're going to make a deal with Trey Hendrickson as well. A lot of reports are saying that both sides are now working on a deal. Remember, earlier in the offseason, they granted him permission to seek a trade. I was shocked at the fact. Now I know he has 1 year left on his deal, but I was shocked at the fact that they weren't even going to try to, renegotiate with him. And if we're being honest, another reason why I was shocked about this is because I thought that they were going to prioritize Jamar Chase and Trey Hendrickson, or at least I'll say that's probably what I would have done. I would have prioritized Trey Hendrickson, Jamar Chase, and I thought that once they franchise tag T. Higgins, they were going to use him in a franchise tag and trade, which they didn't do. No issue with that. That's just what I thought was going to happen. If they are going to find a way to pay Trey Hendrickson, shouts out to them. Again, it looks like that both sides are working on a deal. All that is good. I am happy that everyone got paid the amount of money that they feel, well, everyone outside of Trey Hendrickson right now has gotten. In fact, let me see. Okay, yeah, we're just making sure. I'm getting alerts on my phone, so I'm just, I'm happy that Jamar Chase and T. Higgins got paid. And it looks like they're working on a deal with Trey Hendrickson. I'm happy that looks like all parties involved looked to be happy. They're trying to be happy. That is, and again, I'm happy that everyone gets what they feel they deserve. Now, here's my issue. I know, how do you find an issue in this, Jay? I know. I don't want to find an issue, but here's my issue. There is also a reason why this organization is considered cheap. I don't know if a lot of people knew this, but they had to take out a loan on their stadium just to pay just to pay Joe Burrow. And while yes, you don't want to break up that trio, you pay 3 people this much money, and I mean Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. This is essentially your team. This is essentially the team that you have going into battle because you now are pretty much strapped. You don't really have, which is I'm going to be surprised if they find a way to give Trey Hendrickson the money that he's asking for. I know he has 1 year left in his deal, so they might just make him play out that year, but this is the team that you have. And while you would think, what there is, the Cincinnati Bengals are kind of mere right now another team in the NFL. Has a good to great quarterback. The other team has a good. This one has a great. Joe Burrow is great. Has a great quarterback. 2 great wide receivers. An okay running game. 1 really good name on the defensive side of the ball. And that's about it. Do you know the other team that I'm talking about? Because obviously one is the Cincinnati Bengals. The other one is the Miami Dolphins. You got Tua Tagovailoa at the quarterback position. When healthy, he's a pretty good quarterback. You have Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, both incredible wide receivers. On the defensive side of the ball, you have Jalen Ramsey. And that's about it. Here's the thing here's the only problem that I have. Last year, this was the team that you had. You're probably still going to keep Trey Hendrickson. You have Jamar Chase. You have T. Higgins. The offensive line is still not good. The defense is atrocious outside of Trey Hendrickson. If this team wasn't good enough to even make the playoffs last year, And you're going about this model of keeping the specialty players happy, which I'm not upset about. I think if you have the talents that you have, you should not lose them, especially if you have the ability to keep them. My issue is you're cutting off your nose to spite your face. Yes, I want T. Higgins to get paid, but how do you pay T. Higgins, pay Jamar Chase, who both deserve their money, and also address an offensive line that was poor last year? Do you know how many sacks Joe Burrow took last year just because the offensive line can't protect? Now you can say, well, what about injuries? What happens when they're healthy? When was Joe Burrow's line ever, even during the Super Bowl run, Joe Burrow's line wasn't good. So now you don't have money to address the offensive line. And outside of Trey Hendrickson, which we'll see if they get a deal done or not, you don't have money to address the defense, which is why, might I add, you did not make the playoffs last year. It wasn't because they had one of the most prolific offenses in football. They had a Triple Crown winner on their team. I think if it wasn't for their record, Joe Burrow would be hoisting the MVP, not Josh Allen, not even Lamar Jackson. If Joe Burrow won the MVP last year, and because they had a better record and everything Joe Burrow had in the season was the same, you would not hear a repeat from anybody. Meaning Joe Burrow, I think, had the most passing yards, had the most touchdowns. Like, they just didn't win games. If they would have won games, nobody would have been like, well, Lamar Jackson. No. But because their defense was so bad, they didn't even make the playoffs. I talked about that all season and the end of the season. They wasted 3 historical seasons. One from Jamar Chase, one from Joe Burrow, and one from Trey Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson led the league in sacks. And because you paid Jamar Chase and T. Higgins the money that you paid them, now this is your team. The team that couldn't even make the playoffs last year is your team again. Now, yes, if you don't go 0-2 in your first 2 games, you're probably making the playoffs. But if was a fifth, we'd all be drunk. So you're basing yourself, you're modeling yourself off a team like the Dolphins that have the same type of issues. It's like, again, I'm not mad, and I understand completely why you paid T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, but I'm just saying, like, all right, well, I guess you gotta hope that you just win in shootouts, which you weren't able to do last year. You couldn't stop the run. That's not gonna happen because you don't have a good defense, like, but it's gonna be an exciting. You're gonna be an exciting offense, even though your run game is decent. There's a reason why Joe Burrow had as many passing yards, because he had to pass that much. Chase Brown is cool, but he's not a game changer. I know it's weird. It's weird because it sounds like I'm not happy. No, actually, you know what it is? No. It's not that I'm not happy that T. Higgins and Jamar Chase got paid. It's just these are the ramifications. This is what you're okay with now because you paid them what you paid them. You know? And again, I am on record saying that they deserve the money that they got. And shouts out to them for that. But you better hope that they are incredible, which they are. They have the talent to be incredible. I think T. Higgins is probably the best second option in football. He's on the, who else? Devontae Smith list. And I think T. Higgins is better than Devontae Smith. I think, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith. I think T. Higgins is probably the second option on a team. And you can argue any given Sunday who's better between Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. So that's your team. And those are two great pieces to have, along with Joe Burrow, who is an incredible quarterback. But this is where your money's going. And I'm not going to be shocked. In fact, I'll be more shocked if this team, if Joe Burrow isn't high in the sacks. I'll be shocked if the defense turns around, because it never really turned around throughout the season. It was just Joe Burrow was going crazy. Jamar Chase was going crazy. But hey, man, I do think that they deserve the money that they got. So shouts out to them. This is just the Bengals, and we'll see what the Bengals do next year. So, oh man, you stayed to the end of the video. I appreciate you. If you like what you saw, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss any content from your boy. You can also go back and watch past episodes, past clips, and don't forget that the Unpopular Podcast, new episodes drop every Wednesday and Saturday. Appreciate you.